Good morning, students. Let us start today's class with the lesson The Ransom of Red Chief from the literature book. In this story, there are two friends, Sam and Bill Driscoll. They plan to kidnap a 10-year-old boy, the son of a prominent citizen, Ebenezer Dorset, and hold him for a ransom of $2,000. Let us learn the chapter in detail. It looked like a good thing, but wait till I tell you. We were down south in a town called Summit in Alabama, Bill Driscoll and myself, when this kidnapping idea struck us. When the idea of kidnapping struck Bill and Sam, they were in a small town called Summit in Alabama. And Alabama is in USA. And here I refers to Sam. Our victim was the only child of a prominent citizen named Ebenezer Dorset. He was a boy of 10 with bas-relief freckles and red hair. Bill and I figured that Ebenezer would pay a ransom of $2,000. But wait till I tell you. They thought to kidnap the child of a prominent citizen. Prominent means famous or important. And his name was Ebenezer Dorset. And they thought to kidnap his son. And how was his son? He was 10 years old boy and with bas-relief freckles. That means small raised dots on face and red hair. And his hair was in red color. And they thought they would release him if his father would give them a ransom of $2,000. Here ransom means a sum of money demanded or paid for the release of a person or a captive. About 2 miles from Summit was a little mountain cave where we stored some provisions. One evening we drove past old Dorset's house. The boy was in the street throwing rocks at a kitten. And they arranged all food items in a mountain cave in Summit. For whom? For that boy. Okay. And after that one evening they went to Dorset's house and they saw the boy. That time the boy was in the street and he was throwing rocks at a kitten. By seeing the little boy, Bill asked him, "Would you like to have a nice ride?" Who asked? Bill asked. To whom? To the little boy. Then what was his reply? The boy caught Bill neatly in the eye with a piece of rock. He didn't say anything, but he threw a small piece of rock at his eye. Then what happened? This will cost the old man an extra $500, said Bill. Why extra $500? Because they did not expect that the small boy would throw the piece of rock at him. For that, he needed extra $500. For that, he asked the extra $500. That boy put up a fight, but at last we took him up to the cave. After returning the buggy, when I got back, Bill was plastering scratches and bruises on his face, and the boy was watching a pot of boiling coffee with 2 buzzard tail feathers stuck in his red hair. The boy was not ready to go with them, but after a big fight, they took him up to the cave. In the cave, they kept him safely. After returning the buggy means a small motor vehicle. After giving it back, when Sam came back, what he could see, Bill was plastering the scratches, cleaning and plastering the scratches and bruises means injuries on his face that happened on his face. And what was the boy doing? The boy was watching a pot of boiling coffee. And what was in his red hair? 2 buzzard tail feathers. This is buzzard and these are its tail feathers. When I came up, he said, "Ha, cursed pale face, do you dare to enter the camp of Red Chief?" "He is all right now," said Bill. "We are playing Indian. I am old Hank, the trapper, Red Chief's captive. By God, that kid can kick hard." When Sam came back, what did the boy ask him? He asked, "How you dare to enter the camp of Red Chief?" Here, Red Chief is the name of that boy, and he asked so because he became the chief of that camp. Then Bill said he was very okay and he was not fighting and he was playing with him. They were playing the captive and the trapper. Bill was the captive of that boy and that boy was the trapper. That means they were playing the boy kidnapped Bill and Bill was the captive. Yes, sir, that boy seemed to be having the time of his life. The fun of camping out in a cave had made him forget that he was a captive himself. He called me Snake Eye, the spy. That boy was enjoying his life there because he forgot everything, that he was a captive and they all kidnapped him. But he called Sam Snake Eye, means the spy. We had supper. He filled his mouth full of bacon and bread and gravy and began to talk. "I like this fine. I never camped out before. I hate to go to school. Are there any real Indians in these woods? I want some more gravy. What makes your nose so red, Ham? My father has loads of money now." And then he would let out a war whoop that made old Hank the trapper shiver. After that they all had a supper. Supper means dinner. The small boy filled his mouth full of bacon. Bacon means meat of pig, and bread and gravy. After putting it all in his mouth, he began to talk. Then he told them that he liked that cave and enjoying there, and never he camped out before like that. He hated to go to school. If he was at his home, he had to go to school. In that cave, there was no need of going to school. So he liked to stay with them. And after that, he asked if any real Indians were there in those woods. Woods means the forest. Why he asked like this? Because he needed some more gravy. Then he asked, Hang means here Bill. He called Bill as Hang, and he asked him why his nose was so red. And after that he told them his father had lots of money, and then there would be let out a war whoop. War whoop means a yell uttered in making an attack. That means Red Chief. Red Chief is the name of that boy. He was missing, and his father may let out an attack for finding out him. By hearing that, the old hanger, the trapper shiver, means he was acting as an old hang. Who was acting? Bill was acting, and by hearing that began to shiver. His father was a prominent citizen, so he can do anything. So by thinking about that, he was shivering. Red Chief, said I to the boy, would you like to go home? Oh, what for? Said he. I don't have any fun at home. You won't take me back home again. Snake Eye, will you? Not right away, said I. By thinking about his father's action, both Sam and Bill became very sad, and they wanted to take him or drop him back to his home. And he asked, who asked? Sam asked to Red Chief, the little boy, but he asked, would you like to go home? He asked if he liked to go home, they would send them back. Then what was the reply of the boy? For what purpose I had to go back? Who asked? The boy. At home there was no fun. he told them at home there was no fun for him, and in the cave he was enjoying a lot and he liked to stay with them. So he begged them not to send him back to the home again. Now who became in trap? Yes, Bill and Sam became in trap because the small boy was not going to his home back. The small boy was very naughty boy, so they couldn't handle them safely, and he was also a stubborn boy. We went to bed about 11 o'clock, but just at daybreak I was awakened by a series of full screams from Bill. I jumped up. Red Chip was sitting on Bill's chest with one hand pinned in Bill's hair. In the other he had a sharp knife and he was trying to take Bill's scalp. The next morning when Sam awakened, then he heard a lot of awful screams from Bill's. Bill was screaming. Awful scream means an unpleasant cry. When he reached there, Red Chief was sitting on Bill's chest, and Bill's hair was in his one hand, and other hand he had a sharp knife, and he was trying to take Bill's scalp. Who was trying to take out Bill's scalp? The small boy, Red Chief, and they were always fighting with each other. I got the knife away from the kid, but from that moment Bill's spirit was broken. Ain't it awful, Sam? Said Bill. Do you think anybody will pay out money to get a little imp like that back home? Sam took out the knife from his hand, and after that Bill told Sam he was a little imp, means a devil creature, and nobody would like to get him back home. That means his parents didn't like to get him back at home. Sure, said I. A rowdy kid like that is just the kind that parents dote on. I went up to the peak of the mountain over toward Summit. I expected to see people from the village beating the countryside for the kidnappers. But what I saw was a peaceful landscape. When I got to the cave, I found the boy threatening to smash Bill with a rock. Sam supported and agreed to Bill also. He told too much affection of the parents would change a little kid like this or act like this. After that, Sam went up to the peak of the mountain to check the countryside. Any villagers are beating for the kidnappers, but he could not see any scene like that. He only saw a peaceful landscape. Because of the boy, there was no fighting. When he came back to the cave, he found the boy threatening to smash Bill with a rock. He was trying to attack Bill with a rock. Again the boy started to fight with Bill. By seeing this, Sam also became very upset. Students, hope you have understood whatever I taught today. Let us end today's class here. The rest of the lesson we will learn in our next class. Okay? Thank you.